Well, hello everyone, and welcome to this edition of News You Can Use. I'm your host, Thera Martin Milling, and I am so glad to be back again at Salle TV for another wonderful season. Now, today on our program, in the first segment, we are shining the spotlight on who? Salle University. Why? Because they have an annual health fair that's coming up. It is Saturday, October the 8th. I have two ladies who are going to join me in just a few minutes to give us all of the details. And then when we turn the page on the program, we're going to really focus in on something critical that's coming up on November the 8th. What's that? General Election Day. And I have Mr. Joe Certain, who will be coming on the program, representing on behalf of the Catto Voter Initiative. And he'll tell us about voter registration, voter education, and voter protection, and why they're doing it in this hot political season. So stay with us. We'll be back in just a moment to start the show. Hello everyone, we're back with our program. This is News You Can Use. So if you're watching us at home, maybe you're at work, maybe you're at the gym somewhere, at the laundromat, wherever it is that you're checking out News You Can Use on Salle TV, we thank you for joining us. Right now I want to say welcome again to Kate Ward-Gauze and to Sherilyn Rush. Thank you ladies for joining us to talk about LaSalle's annual health fair. Yes. It's coming up soon.
Yes.
Yes. So thank you for taking time out of your busy day, both of you. And I know things got crazy there for a minute with me and trying to schedule and reschedule and trying to, but here you are. Thank you.
It's important.
So jump in. Who wants to start?
Okay. Well, I will start with the history of our community building team's community health fair. This came out of a 2011 town hall that we had to discuss what we can do to bridge our community, our neighbors, LaSalle, our students, and meet people where they gather. So out of that, we figured the shops at LaSalle would be the best place to hold a community health fair. That was one of the subjects that our community members brought up, as well as our students, faculty, and staff. So from there, we began to explore how we can explore health.
Yes.
And from that came to our fruition, and now we're having our 5th annual community health fair.
Boy, how time flies when we're having fun, right?
Yep.
Right?
Absolutely.
Okay, so now tell us about who buys into this health fair, aside from the community, and they're key, they're component.
Yes.
You're doing it for them. But who are the players that are there with the information and the health screenings?
Well, it makes sense that there would be LaSalle University Nursing and Health Sciences program. So we have our nursing students who are being trained to do some of the screening, blood pressure screening, glucose screening, but we also, you know, and Sherilyn was our coordinator of vendors for 2 or 3 years.
Yes, about 3 years.
Do you want to talk about some of the other?
Yes, so our vendors, we have well over 50 vendors that come out each year. And they're from a far spectrum of health services, also as well as our community health partners that are a part of us. We also have a big sponsor in our Independence Blue Cross. And every year they've taken hold to sponsor and help us. But the vendors have been fantastic. We have vendors that give massages, free massages to...
What date was that you said?
October 8th,
Okay.
Saturday from 12
Okay.
to 3 at the shops at LaSalle. But the vendors are just fantastic, from Fresh Grocers doing a healthy food event, showing how to make healthy food.
Yes.
And they are one of our sponsors too.
Excellent.
They come out every year and
I love that Fresh Grocer. It's
Yeah.
beautiful.
oh my gosh, yes. And their food, the students shop there again. This is where our faculty, staff, students, community members meet up.
And me.
So,
And you.
Thera. So it's one of those great things. And again, our vendors, you know, it completes the circle to have LaSalle's nursing programs.
Yes, sure.
Our neighborhood nursing is there also at the event. We have vendors that will do mammogram checks. We had a van there last year that did that, so we hope they will come back.
Now, for the mammograms, if They are actually, if they come, that would be a great thing.
Yes.
More than likely, you'll probably let folks know they need to pre-register for that, or can you just show
They can show up, and it's actually free of charge.
Oh, great.
So these are excellent opportunities for our neighbors, our community members, and faculty staff to get their health services provided for right there.
Okay, all right, that's good to know.
Yes.
And then the general kinds of things that we see at most health fairs, blood pressure screenings are going to happen, and the diabetes screenings will happen.
Yes. We also expand wellness. I mean, we have, like, the fire department comes with a truck and they do fire safety. We have a children's area, and we have our student athletes and some of our other students come. They do a face painting table. We have a moon bounce. Our men's and women's basketball team, actually, they help staff the moon bounce to make sure the children get in and out safety while they're still having fun as well. So it's just a delightful opportunity. Councilwoman Cindy Bass is also one of our sponsors. When she can make it, she makes it, and usually talks to the people as well and talk about just Philadelphia health issues.
Yes, she's one of the hardest working city council women in Philadelphia, and I'm going to say that because she's my council person too, and I do respect her work and appreciate what she does, and I bet you she's going to find a way. I bet she's going to find a way to try to be there.
Yes.
Yeah.
But she's also encouraged us to use the Philadelphia resources, so we actually partnered with the area health center to help us identify what are the primary health needs of this community, which is one of the ways that we actually reached out to certain vendors. So
All right, now, October the 8th, that means that we'll quickly be coming towards enrollment time for the next cycle for people with Medicare and Medicaid and Obamacare, if that's still going to exist, I don't know. So will there be anybody like that there?
Yes, we have many healthcare providers.
Everything. You all
insurance
that are there.
vendors.
Einstein is one of our partners too. They're there.
But insurance brokers that can then navigate just the different plans and what's
Very good.
Explain that. Yes.
That's what people need to know.
It is.
And so now the time of the event again.
Will be from 12 to 3 p.m. at the Shops at LaSalle. And
some people don't know where that is.
Shops at LaSalle is right Worcester Avenue and Chew, right on the corner. It's right across from the old Germantown Hospital, and now right across from our LaSalle School of Business building.
And your landmark, if for some reason you don't see the street sign, look for Fresh Grocer. Bam, you're there.
It actually has a street number. It's 5301 Chew Avenue. So,
Okay. All right. Anything else that you wanted to tell us real briefly about the health fair and why people need to come out?
People need to come out. They'll get information. They'll get so much, much more than what they walked into the shops at LaSalle with. But also there'll be performers there from our community. Last year we had Love Rising, which was an awesome step team, little young folks just being about doing good and just expressing themselves, to a lot of our community performers. Our students will be there on the stage performing, and we'll have Zumba. So every year we have Zumba.
And I didn't know what Zumba really was, and I was kind of like scared about, like, I get embarrassed when I think about going to a gym where people are all professional exercise people, and I come in and I don't know how to move. And so I was at a church health fair this past spring, St. Matthew's Church, AME Church at 58th and Summer Street in West Philadelphia. And they had a Zumba lady there, and she was the only one up on stage. She was trying to get people to come. Nobody would come. So I said, well, I'll go up there with her. And I started having so much fun, and I was laughing. I had a big old smile on my face. It was pretty cool. I like Zumba.
Our students get involved. The community is just
now I don't know if I can keep up with these LaSalle students, but
it is.
I think
it's delightful. It really is.
Yeah, pretty cool.
So we'll be having raffles also, giving out prizes that are donated from our community members and our community businesses. So come on out.
Okay.
Come on out. It's worth it.
All right. Sounds so good to me. A final thought that you want to leave with our listening audience?
Get information, have fun, beautiful day, meet new people, nothing better than it, and it's all free.
And it's all free.
And it's all free. We love that word. We love that word. God bless you both for doing the work you do, for having the vision and the creativity and the stick-to-itiveness and the passion for the community to say, you know what, we can do great things here. We're already doing great things at LaSalle. We could do even more. So I'm from the community to LaSalle. I say thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very
much.
much.
Community building team.
All
right back at you.
Woo!
Yes.
Okay, on another show, we'll have to talk about the community building team and some of the
Yes.
other things that you do throughout the year, because
Yes.
you do a lot.
Yes.
It's not
This is-
just the health fair.
Right.
That's right.
So
Initiatives.
please remind me, or my executive producer, who will definitely remind me, to have
Yes.
you come back and talk about some of the other stuff as well.
We'd
All
love
right?
to.
Yes.
Thank you.
We'd love to come.
All righty. We're
Excellent.
going to keep it moving as we go forward with this edition of News You Can Use. When we come back, we're going to talk about voter registration, voter education, voter participation with Mr. Joe Sertain, representing on behalf of OV Catto Voter Initiative. Stay with us.
I think that a healthy body image means that, you know, you are comfortable being the best you that you can be.
I think it's also part of the mental mind and how a person feels that they're perceived, because if they're confident, it's going to show in the way they act, how they dress.
If you're happy with how you look, you're comfortable, that means you're happy and you're healthy.
My ideal body image would be one where someone's healthy and happy.
If you or someone you know is struggling to maintain a healthy body image, visit the National Eating Disorder Association's website at www.nedawareness.org.
You are now watching Salle TV.
Hello, everybody. We are back now as we continue with this edition of News You Can Use. I'm your host, Thera Martin Milling, and we are in the midst of a very, very serious time in our nation where decisions have to be made. Who's going to run this country next? And general election is coming up on Tuesday, November the 8th. We are not here to tell you who to vote for. This is a nonpartisan conversation. I'm just saying, vote. Please vote. I have been voting ever since I turned 18 years old. My first vote, I was in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, attending college, and Jimmy Carter was running for president. And I have not missed an election, not one. It's very important to me, and I hope and pray that it is important to all of you as it is to me. Joining us right now is Mr. Joe Sertain, and I always think of you as a general when I think of you. When I think of you, I think of the Buffalo Soldiers and your leadership with that group. When I think of you, I think of successful political campaigns. When I think of you, I think of a proud man from Philadelphia who is about making a positive difference. And currently, Mr. Joe Sertain is the director for the OV Catto Voter Initiative, and that's so important. So I want to thank you for stepping up to the plate to lead this group, this coalition, as we go this last leg of the way towards November the 8th. It's voting time.
Well, yes, it is, and thanks for having me,
Thank
Thera.
you for coming. Yeah.
The OV Catto Voter Empowerment Initiative is really the continuation of what we did 4 years ago with the voter ID campaign that we had to try and familiarize people with voter ID, what they needed if in fact the court case was not thrown out.
Yes.
But in doing that, we realized that in many, many communities across the Commonwealth, and here in Philadelphia also, that people, especially in minority communities, are not at all familiar with what their rights are when they do go to the polling place. And even with people who voted for years and years, if they are suddenly challenged or for some reason their name is not in the book or something like that, they really don't know what to do.
And too many shrug their shoulders, okay, and they just go home. And
well, and yes, and the other thing, one of the things that we saw in 2012 was right in North Philadelphia, in the 11th Ward, outside observers were sent in, and people were questioned to the point of intimidation.
Now, the 11th Ward, that would be the old ward that was led by former City Councilman Al Stewart, now led by his grandson, Dwayne Lilly.
Yes, but we realized then that the difficulty that people faced, especially older people who've been voting for a long period of time, slightest thing goes wrong and they don't know what it is they're supposed to do or how to do it or who to get a hold of. One of the things that happened in 2012 was that the system here in Philadelphia had a lot of hiccups. It didn't break completely down, but people who called in to get assistance, their calls weren't taken, calls were dropped, nobody showed up. So there was a lot of confusion in a lot of places on election day. And that happens generally in minority communities, and it happens not just in Philadelphia, it happens all over the Commonwealth. This year it's important because publicly there have been insinuations, or I would say just outright statements, that the election is rigged, and if certain candidates don't win, it's because the election is rigged, and Philadelphia was targeted.
Don't get it twisted, we're not Florida.
Right. Well, and Philadelphia was targeted. So what we decided to do was we identified 16 jurisdictions across the Commonwealth, 18 jurisdictions in 16 counties where minority voters are underrepresented in that county's electorate. We targeted those jurisdictions, and we went about the business. This is from the spring we've been doing this. Went about the business of not only encouraging voter registration, but also recruiting attorneys and election day observers so that people will not be without support on election day should anything occur that for some reason becomes an irregularity with the election process on election day, November 8th. So that's what this is about. We're completely nonpartisan, we're completely volunteer. We have strong supporters across the Commonwealth, the NAACP, many, many pastors across Pennsylvania. We have the National Action Network. We have quite a few of the sororities and fraternities are helping us out. And it's a grassroots effort to kind of provide information. First of all, encourage people to register by the deadline, which is October 11th.
Yes.
But also to familiarize themselves with what their rights are when they do go to the polling place as registered voters, and then to offer, along with others, as part of a broad coalition, the kind of assistance that people need on election day should they run into a problem. Now, we don't really anticipate a lot of problems everywhere, but the idea is to be ready in case they do occur. And we can't always, we can't rely on the political parties to do this. They're busy working on behalf of their candidates.
Yes.
But our primary purpose is to look out for the individual voter, especially in areas where minority voters and voters of color have voting precincts that do not pop up on the radar screen. A lot of the good government groups and the other folks that are involved in this don't necessarily respond to the more difficult neighborhoods, the more difficult communities around the Commonwealth. and they look for allies who can help them do that. And we have positioned ourselves as an ally, and we will be working together. We'll be working with the ACLU, we'll be working with the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights, and other groups and organizations to provide this kind of a service to people. So we're looking forward to it, but it's a lot of work, and we're still encouraging people to get registered by the deadline. That's the key.
Well, now, as an ally of yours and this wonderful group, Catto Empowerment Voter Initiative, I want to be a protector of yours. I want people to know. I want our viewers to know. I want our listeners at WURD and the Philadelphia Inquirer and the Daily News and all the media outlet. I want them to know you all didn't just start this yesterday. You didn't just come up with this when you did a press conference last week.
No.
This work has been going on since before the primary election last spring of 2016. So I don't want people to get it wrong and think, oh, here comes Joe Sertain and a few ministers at the last minute. It's not last minute. You've been working this thing.
Well, you know, it really doesn't matter what people think. What we're interested is in what people do. So
Yes,
there's always somebody that's going to think this, that, or the other. That's fine. That's for them. But we've been very meticulous in our work. We've been working very hard. And the initiative is named after Octavius Valentine Catto, who, as you know, was killed in Philadelphia in 1871, right after black men got the right to vote. He was an advocate and an organizer trying to get the vote out on election day. And he was assassinated not far from his home. So we thought it appropriate that an initiative be named after him and that we engage in the same kind of thing. It's almost continuity.
Yes.
It's the same kind of thing that he was involved in on election day, because it's so important to voters to have that kind of confidence and to feel empowered, especially on election day. If you can't feel empowered on election day with your vote, knowing that that vote matters, it's difficult to say when other times are in your life when you would feel empowered.
I know that people tell me that sometimes they get tired of me saying things like, people died so we could vote, but I'm passionate about that. People did die so that we could vote. And so I feel like everybody should take it seriously. But in the times that we're living in, where we see things happening with politicians, corruption and things of that nature, you will get some kickback from some folks when you try to talk to them and say, I'm not voting, all those politicians, throw them all out. What do we say back to make people say, you got to put that on the side, we still have to vote?
Well, there's a reality that we face every day. Although we elect people, we do not hold them accountable. Day-to-day accountability counts for something. These people have to be lobbied, they have to be paid attention to, they have to be held accountable at the grassroots level. So the elected officials that you only see at election time, they do that because you let them. The voters let them get away with that. And that's a big part of voter education. And accountability is a big piece of that.
Okay. Now, the other thing about this particular election, and I think it happens every time there's the presidential election year, there's so much focus put on the main two candidates, Democrat and Republican, that are running, that we sometimes forget to talk about the other races that also count too. Like, there is a congressional race going on. There's a man that's from this part of the city, Dwight Evans, who is a state representative, has been one for a long time. He's running for Congress, and by all accounts, it looks like he's way ahead of everybody else that's in the race with him. And people are saying, we believe he's going to be our next congressman from the 2nd Congressional District. But there are other races, and so the voter education part is even heavier layer, I would think, in terms of making sure that people know what's at stake. Yes, the White House is real important, but what else is at stake too?
Well, the reality with us is that we pay more attention to the process, not to the personalities involved. We do let people know what offices are on the ballot and what questions are on the ballot, so that they can pay attention to so that they can pay attention to the representation from ground level up. But the one thing that we stay away from, and this is where the political parties come in, is talking at all about any of the candidates or the importance of their positions. Any elected official, from committee people get elected You have state representatives, state senators, congressional people. You have, in some counties, you have elected school boards.
Yes, yes.
There are things that happen through the electoral process that govern your life day by day by day. So to walk away from voting as though it doesn't matter to you, either directly or indirectly, you are impacted by what happens at the ballot box on election day. Now, you can choose to be a part of that and participate and take charge of what happens, or you can let things happen to you. It's entirely up to you.
Life is a spectator sport. It
Well,
should be.
It's,
It
you
should
know,
be.
the reality.
In some people's heads, it should be.
In some people's
Gotta get in
heads,
the game.
yeah, sure.
Get in the game.
It's-
Get in the game.
You got to get in the game. And the important thing here is that the people who have complaints about this person or that person or the way things are every day, they got to start by voting. And if you don't vote, then, you know, who cares if you complain?
Right.
Every politician, every elected official looks at the numbers, precinct by precinct. They do everything based on the number of registrations in that precinct and what the vote totals are in that precinct. If it's in their district, they pay attention to it. So the key thing is, whether you want to pay attention or not, there is somebody paying attention to what is supposed to happen and what they'd like to see happen. And one of the reasons we get such inferior quality in the elected officials that we do have is because there's not enough voter participation and people aren't held to a high enough standard so that the political parties field quality candidates that we can choose from.
Okay, now, and I agree with you. The Catto Empowerment Voter Initiative, they're going to be spanned out across the city. They already are. They've been doing it under different banners, be that the Philadelphia branch NAACP or the state NAACP, whether that's the Black Clergy of Philadelphia and Vicinity, whether that's the Greater Philadelphia Clergy Union, whether that's the network, the National Action Network, like you mentioned a little earlier, if that's the ACLU. You'll see them out there. The AKAs, the Deltas are in it, the Kappas are in it, the Omega Psi Phi, they're in it, the Alphas are in it. So wherever we see these different groups, we know they're under the banner of Catto.
Well, yeah, but you may not see them because one of the things that we're going to be doing on Election Day as election observers is we will be positioned where we anticipate problems occurring the most.
Yes.
So it's not about the visibility. That's for the people who are getting out to vote for the candidates. They're the ones that need to be visible. What we're doing is paying attention to the process itself so that if Thera Milling goes into the polling place and experiences a problem, we have a statewide number that you can call. And the response is immediate.
We will run that number on the screen for you. We thank you for joining us on this edition of News You Can Use. We're out of time, but I thank you for coming, Mr. Joe Surtain.
Thank you.
Whatever you do, vote when Election Day comes, November the 8th. Have a good one.